The alien girl walked slowly along the dirty streets of the settlement, her small hands searching through piles of trash. She moved carefully, her head tilted as if listening for something no one else could hear. Her eyes were pale, clouded, and lifeless. She could not see. She had been blind since birth. Every day was the same. She followed the smell of food scraps, the sound of buzzing flies, and the texture of old cans or broken crates. With her sharp nose and sensitive hands, she searched for anything that could fill her empty stomach. Sometimes she found a half-eaten fruit, sometimes just rotten skin, but even that was better than nothing. People who passed by laughed at her. "Look at her," one alien merchant whispered to another. "She digs in trash like an animal." Children pointed and mocked her. They called her Trash Girl, and sometimes even threw stones near her feet to scare her. But she never shouted back. She never cried in front of them. She only bent lower and kept searching. Her body was thin, her skin pale from hunger. Her clothes were made from scraps of cloth she had found in garbage. But still she kept walking, kept searching, because hunger was louder than shame. She had learned long ago that begging brought nothing. Nobody wanted to feed a blind girl who was seen as worthless. Yet she did not give up. She had a strange gift, though she did not know it. The items she pulled from the garbage were not always useless. Broken wires, old circuit chips, strange glowing stones, she collected them. Touching their shapes, feeling their edges, to her, they were only objects. But in reality, they were pieces of technology others had carelessly thrown away. That evening, as the twin suns set and the shadows grew long, she stumbled upon a cracked metal box half buried in dirt. It was heavy and she almost dropped it. She ran her fingers along the cold surface, sensing grooves and strange patterns. "Maybe I can trade this for food," she whispered softly to herself. She lifted it with effort and hugged it close to her chest. From the corner of the street, a man was watching. He was not from her planet. His broad shoulders, his rough face, and his simple clothing marked him as human. He leaned quietly against a wall, arms folded, eyes locked on the girl. He had been watching her for 3 days, wondering why she kept collecting trash. When he saw her pull the cracked box out of the ground, his eyes narrowed. He recognized the shape instantly. It was no ordinary box. It was a fragment of alien tech that could sell for more credits than most workers made in a year. His heart skipped, but then he looked at the girl again. Thin, trembling, hungry, and blind. She had no idea what she was carrying. The human stepped forward slowly, careful not to startle her. "Hey," he said softly. His voice carried warmth. The girl froze, clutching the box tighter. "Who's there?" she asked. Her voice shook with both fear and defiance. She had learned never to trust strangers. "It's okay," the man said. "I'm not here to hurt you, I just noticed what you picked up." The girl frowned. "It's trash," she said firmly. "But maybe someone will give me bread for it." The human looked at her pale eyes, his chest tightening. She could not see, and yet she had found something priceless. He thought of the merchants who would cheat her, who would snatch the box from her hands and laugh. He knew he could not let that happen. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She hesitated, gripping the box like a lifeline. "They call me Trash Girl," she whispered bitterly. The man's jaw clenched. "That's not a name," he said firmly. "Tell me your real one." For the first time in a long while, she felt someone speak to her not with insult, but with respect. She hesitated, then said quietly, "Lyra," the man nodded. "Lyra." "I'm Daniel." She tilted her head, listening. "You're not from here," she said. Her nose caught a faint, unfamiliar scent, different from her people, sharper, warmer. "You're human?" Daniel gave a small smile, impressed. "You're right." There was silence for a moment, broken only by the rustle of garbage in the wind. Then Daniel stepped closer. "Lyra, what you found isn't trash, it's treasure," she frowned. Confusion clear on her face. "Treasure?" "No, you're lying. Everyone laughs at me. They say I only collect garbage." Daniel's eyes hardened. "They laugh because they can't see what you can. You have a gift, Lyra." Her hands tightened around the box, doubt and fear twisting inside her chest. Could this human be telling the truth, or was it another cruel trick? Daniel took a step back, showing no threat. "Keep it safe, Lyra," he said quietly, "and trust me one day. It will change your life." The blind girl stood frozen, her pale eyes staring at nothing. Her heart raced, her mind spinning with confusion. For the first time, someone had told her she was more than Trash Girl. For the first time, someone had called her by her name. and deep inside a tiny spark of hope began to glow. The next morning, Lyra rose from her cold corner near the trash heap. Her stomach growled, but she held tightly to the cracked metal box she had found the night before. She feared someone might steal it while she slept. Her pale eyes stared at nothing, yet her head turned slightly. Sensing the noises around her, people walked by, some muttering insults, some ignoring her completely. To them, she was still Trash Girl. But to Daniel, the human who had spoken to her, she was not. From a distance he watched again, hidden in the shadow of a ruined wall. His eyes followed her slow movements, how she bent to touch every piece of debris, how she separated things by feel, and how her nose wrinkled when food scraps were spoiled. He was amazed she did not see. But somehow she picked objects of value without even knowing it. Lyra whispered softly to herself as she worked. If I trade this, maybe I can get bread. Maybe today no one will laugh. Her hands brushed against a long, thin shard of glass sharp enough to cut. She hissed in pain as her finger bled. The smell of her own blood made her dizzy. But she did not let go of the box she still hugged under her arm. That was when Daniel finally stepped out from hiding. You'll hurt yourself like that, he said firmly. Lyra froze again, her head turning sharply. You again, she said, her voice defensive. She had recognized his voice. She remembered his words, treasure. Gift, but she did not know if she could believe him. Why do you follow me? What do you want from me? Daniel raised his hands, showing he meant no harm. I don't want anything from you, I want to help you. Her lips trembled, anger mixing with fear. No one helps me, humans, aliens. It doesn't matter, they all see me as useless. They only laugh or push me away. Why are you different? Daniel walked closer, lowering his voice. Because I see what others can't, I see you. Lyra. The girl hugged the cracked box tighter. Stop saying strange things, it's just trash. I'll trade it for food. He shook his head. That box could feed you for years. If you knew its worth, do you even know what's inside it? Her cloudy eyes turned toward him, confusion written on her face. No. How would I? I can't open it. Daniel crouched near her, speaking slowly. It's old alien tech. Not many know how to use it, but I do if you let me. I can show you what you've been holding all this time. Silence fell, broken only by the buzzing of flies around the garbage. Lyra's thin fingers trembled as she traced the lines of the box again. Could this really be true? Could her trash be something more? Her heart screamed not to trust, but her hunger, her loneliness, and his steady voice pulled her closer. What if you lie? She asked in a whisper. What if you take it away from me? Daniel's face hardened. He understood her fear. If I wanted to steal it, I already would have. But I didn't. I waited. I wanted you to know the truth. She bit her lip, silent for a long moment, then she said, Show me. Daniel nodded. He took a small tool from his pocket, a human-made scanner. He placed it against the surface of the cracked box, and suddenly the metal glowed faintly, strange patterns lighting up beneath her fingers. Lyra gasped, pulling her hands back. It's alive, she whispered. It's technology, Daniel corrected gently. Ancient, rare, priceless, her mind spun. The voices of people mocking her echoed in her head. Trash girl. Useless, worthless, yet here was proof. The box glowing under her touch. She had not been collecting trash. She had been gathering forgotten treasures. Why? Why would someone throw this away? She asked softly. Daniel sighed. Because they couldn't see its value, they were blind in another way. Lyra's lips parted, stunned by his words. Blind. She thought blindness was her curse. Yet maybe others were blind too. Blind to what mattered. Daniel stood and offered his hand. Come with me, Lyra. I'll teach you. I'll show you how to turn your gift into survival. You don't have to live in trash anymore. Her hand shook as she reached out. Her fingers brushed his calloused palm. Warm and steady, she pulled back quickly, fear rushing again. If I trust you, will you leave me when I'm no longer useful? Daniel's voice was firm, honest. No, I don't walk away from people who need me. Her heart pounded. Her world had always been cold, filled with laughter that cut deeper than knives. Now for the first time, someone's words felt real. She hugged the glowing box to her chest. I don't know why, but I want to believe you. Daniel gave her a small smile. Then believe, and you'll see more than anyone else ever could. The blind girl lowered her head, and though her pale eyes saw nothing, inside her heart a flicker of light began to grow stronger. The strange human had opened a door she never thought existed, and stepping through it might change everything. The night was quiet when Lyra sat near the broken wall, her hands gently resting on the glowing box. Her mind was restless, replaying every word the strange human had told her. Treasure priceless. Gift, word she had never heard used for her before. She touched the metal surface again and again, as if trying to understand what made it so important. To her it was just heavy and strange, but to him it was something far greater. Daniel sat across from her, a small fire flickering between them. The warmth of the flames pushed back the chill of the settlement night. He watched her carefully, studying the way her pale eyes tilted as if trying to see through sound and smell. She was blind, yes, but she moved with a sharpness he rarely saw. "Lyra," he said finally, "do you know how many of these things you've picked up before?" She frowned, hugging her knees. "I don't count. I only look for things I can trade for food. Sometimes they throw stones at me if I keep too much." Daniel's jaw tightened, anger rising at the cruelty she had endured. "They laugh because they don't know, they see only trash, but you've been holding treasures all along." Her face turned toward him, disbelief clear in her expression. "How? I can't even see. How can I find treasures when I don't know what they look like?" Daniel leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Because you don't need to see. You use your hands, your nose, your ears, you sense what others ignore. That's why you found this box when so many passed by without noticing." She hesitated, her fingers brushing the carved edges again. The box pulsed faintly beneath her touch, and she pulled back with a soft gasp. "It's moving. It's alive," he smiled. "That's its power waking up. Do you hear that hum?" She tilted her head, listening closely. A faint vibration filled the air, steady and soft, her lips parted in awe. I hear it," Daniel nodded. "This device is part of an old alien network. It's rare, Lyra, very rare. Even broken, it's worth enough to buy food, clothes, and shelter for years." Her thin chest rose and fell quickly. Her heart pounded at the thought. Years of hunger, years of insults. Could all of it change because of one box? She shook her head, refusing to believe too easily. "If it's so valuable, why give it back to me? Why not take it for yourself?" Daniel met her cloudy eyes firmly. "Because it's yours. You found it. You held on to it. You trusted it without knowing what it was. That makes it more yours than anyone's." No one had ever spoken to her like that. Her throat tightened and she whispered, "But I'm just trash girl." "Not anymore," Daniel said sharply. "You're Lyra, the one who finds treasure where others see garbage." Silence fell, heavy with meaning for the first time in her life. She didn't feel like nothing. She felt important. Daniel broke the silence, pulling a small pouch from his bag. He placed it near the fire. "These are pieces I've collected from my travels. Look." He pushed a few small objects toward her. "Touch them, tell me what you feel." Lyra hesitated, then reached out. Her fingers brushed over smooth crystal, rough metal and a broken circuit. She frowned, focusing on the differences. "This one, it feels warm, almost alive." She whispered about the crystal. "This one is dead, sharp edges, no hum," she said about the broken circuit. Daniel's eyes widened, impressed. "You can sense energy," he whispered to himself. Then louder, "Lyra, do you understand? You're not blind to these things. You see them in a way no one else can." Her lips trembled. I never knew." Daniel leaned closer, his voice steady. "This is your gift, Lyra. This is why I want to help you. With my knowledge and your senses, we can turn all this trash into treasure." She clutched the box tighter, but this time not with fear. This time with hope. "But the market," she said nervously. "They will laugh at me." "They always laugh." "They'll laugh," Daniel agreed, "until they see what you have. Then they won't laugh. They'll fight to buy it." Her breath caught at his words. The idea of being wanted, respected, even feared was impossible to her. Yet Daniel said it as if it was certain. A sound interrupted them, footsteps echoing in the dark. Lyra stiffened, her senses sharpening. "Someone's coming," she whispered. Her hearing was sharper than his. She could tell the weight, the uneven steps. 3 people, no, 4. Daniel stood, his hand instinctively going to his sidearm. His jaw tightened. "Stay behind me." The shadows revealed rough-looking merchants, the kind who dealt in stolen goods. One of them smirked, pointing at the glowing box. "Looks like the little rat found something shiny." Lyra's chest tightened with fear. Her worst nightmare was here. Someone would take her treasure. Daniel stepped forward, blocking their path. His voice was cold. "This doesn't belong to you." The leader laughed. "And it belongs to her? A blind beggar?" Don't make me laugh, human. Give it here before we cut you both down. Lyra gripped the box tighter, her fingers trembling, but Daniel didn't move. His stance was firm, steady. His eyes burned with resolve. For the first time, Lyra realized something. This strange human wasn't just showing her the value of her treasure. He was willing to fight for it, for her, and in that moment, the blind girl knew. Her life was about to change forever. The market was alive with noise, a storm of voices calling out prices, laughter, and the clatter of merchants arranging their goods. Strange smells mixed in the air. Spices, roasted meat, oil, and smoke. Lyra walked beside Daniel, clutching the glowing box close to her chest. Her steps were hesitant, her head turning as if trying to see the chaos around her with her ears. Daniel kept close, guiding her through the crowd. His hand hovered near her arm but never grabbed her. He let her choose her steps. His eyes scanned every shadow, every greedy face that turned to look at them. He knew this was dangerous, bringing her here with something so valuable. But he also knew she needed to see the truth. The moment Lyra stepped into the heart of the market, voices rose. There she is, someone muttered. The trash rat. She's still dragging garbage with her, another merchant sneered. Maybe she'll trade it for crumbs again. The laughter echoed all around her. Sharp as knives, her grip on the box tightened. Her throat burned, and for a moment she almost turned back. But Daniel leaned down and whispered, "Let them laugh, Lyra, in a moment." "They won't." She swallowed hard and nodded. Her pale eyes stared ahead, empty yet strangely strong. Daniel led her to a stall run by a sharp-eyed dealer. The dealer sneered when he saw who it was. "You again?" "I told you before, blind girl, your junk is worth nothing." Lyra flinched. But Daniel spoke before she could. His voice was steady. "Then look again. Open your eyes before you lose a fortune." The dealer scoffed but leaned forward as Daniel placed the cracked box on the counter. The faint glow from its surface spread across the wood, patterns of alien script shifting like light in water. The dealer froze, his eyes widening. The laughter in the crowd died. One by one, heads turned, mouths hung open. Whispers spread like fire. "That's impossible. Where did she get that? That's old tech, real old, not seen in years." The dealer licked his lips nervously, trying to mask his excitement. "This is broken junk," he lied. "Worth maybe a few coins." Lyra tilted her head, her sharp ears catching the tremor in his voice. Her heart raced, and for the first time, she felt it. He was lying. She couldn't see his face. But she knew. "No," she said suddenly, her voice stronger than she expected. "You're lying." The crowd gasped. The blind girl had spoken against a merchant. The dealer's face darkened. "Watch your mouth, rat," he hissed. Daniel stepped closer, his presence towering. "Try to cheat her again, and I'll make sure everyone here knows you can't tell treasure from trash." The dealer's jaw clenched. His eyes flicked nervously to the glowing box again. He could feel the weight of the crowd's stares. If he pushed too hard, he might lose his standing. "Fine," he said through gritted teeth. "I'll give her 100 credits," whispers erupted. 100 credits was more than most earned in a month, the crowd murmured in shock. But Daniel only smirked. 100? For something like this? "Don't insult us," another merchant stepped forward, his eyes hungry. 200, he called out. 300, shouted another. The air changed in an instant. What had been laughter turned into chaos. Merchants shouted over one another, raising the price higher and higher. 500, 700, 1,000. Lyra stood frozen, clutching the edge of the counter. The voices swirled around her, not mocking now, but desperate, greedy, afraid of missing out for the first time in her life. They weren't laughing at her. They were fighting because of her. Daniel bent close and whispered, "Do you hear them, Lyra? That's the sound of respect. They finally see what you carry." Her lips trembled. She whispered, "Respect. For me?" He nodded firmly. "For you and for your gift." The bidding raged. Merchants waved credits, shouting louder, their faces red with greed. Finally, a wealthy dealer slammed his fist on the table. 5,000 credits. The market fell silent. 5,000. Enough to buy a small home, food for years, clothes, and safety. The number echoed in Lyra's mind like thunder. Her hands shook violently. 5,000? She whispered, her voice barely a breath. Daniel's face was calm, but inside, his chest burned with pride. He looked at her and said softly, "This is only the beginning, Lyra. You've been blind to the truth all along. You don't collect trash, you collect treasure." The crowd buzzed in shock, merchants glaring with envy. Some looked ready to snatch the box by force. The wealthy dealer's eyes narrowed, as if calculating whether to buy or steal. Daniel noticed and placed his hand protectively over the box. His voice dropped low, dangerous. If anyone tries, they'll regret it. For the first time, the merchants hesitated. They looked at the human and then at the blind girl who had just turned their world upside down. Lyra's chest heaved, her thin body trembling with emotion. All her life she had been called worthless. All her life she had been mocked, and now? She was standing in the center of the market, her so-called trash worth more than any of them imagined. Her lips parted, and a single tear slipped from her pale eyes. She whispered to herself, "Maybe." "I was never trash girl," Daniel heard her, and his jaw tightened with a smile. "No, Lyra, you were never trash girl. You were always treasure finder." The market had changed, and so had she. That night the market was still buzzing with whispers of the blind girl and her trash. Merchants argued in alleys, some furious that they had missed the chance to buy the glowing box, others scheming to trick her later. Lyra and Daniel had left quickly after the bidding war, choosing not to sell that day. Daniel knew the danger of too many eyes noticing something priceless. They sat in a quiet, abandoned storeroom, the box resting between them. The air smelled of rust and dust, but for Lyra, it felt safer than the open streets. She ran her fingers along the carved lines, listening to the faint hum. Her pale eyes glistened with wonder. 5,000 credits, she whispered. The number still unbelievable. "That's more than I've ever dreamed." Daniel nodded, his face serious. "And it's the reason we have to be careful now. Word has spread. People know you carry treasure. Some will try to take it." Her heart clenched. She had survived hunger, cruelty, and insults, but she had no idea how to survive thieves. "They'll hurt me?" she asked in a small voice. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Not while I'm here, but outside." In the twisting streets of the settlement, plans were already being made. A group of greedy dealers gathered in a dark corner, their voices low and sharp. "That human is protecting her," one spat. "But no one protects for free. He'll take it all for himself," another sneered. "Does it matter? She's just a blind beggar, she can't fight back. Tonight we follow them, we strike, the treasure will be ours." A shadowy figure leaned forward, a scar across his cheek. "Not just the box. All the junk she's been hoarding. If one piece is worth thousands. Who knows what else she has, we'll take everything." The group nodded, their greed burning hotter than fear. Back in the storeroom, Daniel listened carefully to the silence outside. His instincts told him trouble was close. He glanced at Lyra, who sat hugging the box, humming softly to herself. The sound was fragile, innocent, and it made his chest ache with responsibility. "You trust me now?" he asked suddenly. Lyra tilted her head toward him. I want to," she whispered. "No one has ever stayed this long. No one has called me by my name and meant it." Daniel's face softened. "Then hold on to that trust, because things are about to get harder." She nodded slowly, though fear crept into her voice. "I've lived with hunger, with shame, with loneliness. Maybe I can live with danger too." Daniel gave a faint smile. "You're stronger than you think." The door creaked suddenly, and both their heads turned. Daniel rose quickly, his hand on his weapon. But it was only the wind still, his nerves stayed sharp. Hours later, when the night was deepest, the threat arrived. Heavy boots crunched on broken glass outside. Whispers filled the air. Then the door slammed open and 4 rough merchants stormed inside, blades flashing in the dim light. "There she is," one hissed. "The blind rat with the treasure." Lyra gasped and clutched the box tightly to her chest. Her thin body shaking, Daniel stepped in front of her, his stance solid as stone. "Walk away," he growled. The scarred leader laughed. "Walk away? You're brave for a human, but there are 4 of us, and only one of you." Daniel's eyes narrowed, his voice calm but edged with steel. "Count again." The men glanced at each other, confused, until they realized the blind girl was standing too, her face pale but defiant, her head tilted as if listening to their every movement. She gripped the box tightly, her knuckles white. "I'm not giving it up," she said, her voice trembling but steady. The scarred man sneered. "You? You can't even see." But before he could lunge forward, Daniel struck first, his fist slammed into the nearest attacker, sending him crashing into a pile of crates. The fight erupted instantly. Steel clashed, boots thudded on stone. Lyra pressed herself against the wall, listening in terror. Every sound was a map to her, the scrape of a blade, the grunt of Daniel, the cry of a man in pain. She couldn't see, but she knew where everyone was. Behind you, she shouted suddenly, and Daniel spun just in time to block a strike aimed at his back. He glanced at her in shock. She knew, even blind. The attackers grew desperate. "Grab the girl," one shouted. But when they lunged, Lyra raised the box high. The glowing patterns pulsed brighter, filling the room with strange light. The men stumbled back, shielding their eyes. "What is that thing?" One cried out. Daniel used the distraction, slamming another man against the wall. The scarred leader cursed and pulled a knife. "She's mine," he roared. But before he could touch her, Daniel's voice thundered. "Not while I breathe." He struck the man hard. The knife clattering to the ground, silence fell. Broken only by the groans of the defeated, the attackers crawled away, muttering threats, but none dared stay. The strange glow from the box seemed to follow them until they disappeared into the night. Lyra collapsed to her knees, shaking. Her hand still clutched the box. They wanted to kill me," she whispered. Her voice was thin, broken. Daniel knelt beside her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "And they will try again," he said quietly, "because they know you're not worthless anymore. That makes you dangerous to them." Tears welled in her pale eyes. "I never wanted enemies. I only wanted food." Daniel looked at her, his expression firm. "Then we'll turn their greed into your shield. Tomorrow we go back to the market, not to sell, but to show them who you are. If they know you can't be cheated or stolen from, they'll think twice." Lyra swallowed hard, fear and determination battling inside her. She hugged the glowing box tighter. "Then I'll fight too in my way," she whispered. Daniel smiled faintly, proud. "Good. Because the world is starting to see you, Lyra. And once they do, they can never laugh at you again." Outside, the market still whispered of treasure. But in the shadows, the whispers had turned into plans. And for Lyra, the blind collector, survival had just become war. The settlement woke with the noise of traders and merchants. But in the quiet corners of the ruined storeroom, Lyra sat with Daniel, the faint glow of the alien box resting between them. The fear of last night's attack still lingered in her heart. Yet there was something new, too. An unshakable closeness to the strange human who had fought for her. Her fingers traced the strange markings on the box as she spoke softly. "When they came for me, I thought, this is the end. But you didn't run. You stood there like the wall itself, protecting me." Daniel smirked faintly, his arms crossed. "I told you, Lyra, I don't walk away. Especially not when someone needs me." Her pale eyes turned toward his voice, though she could not see his face. "People always walked away from me. Even my own kind. They said I was cursed. They said blindness is weakness." Her voice cracked. But she forced herself to continue. "Sometimes I believed them. Sometimes I thought maybe I should just disappear with the trash." Daniel leaned forward, his voice gentle but firm. "Don't you ever believe that again? You survived hunger, insults, and darkness. That's not weakness, that's strength most people don't even understand." Lyra's chest tightened. Her throat burned with words she didn't know how to say. For the first time in her life, someone didn't see her as less, he saw her as more. Daniel reached into his pack and pulled out a small object, placing it in her hands. "Here." She touched it carefully. Smooth metal, wires, and a faint hum. "What is it?" she asked. "A broken scanner," Daniel replied. "But useful to test something. I want you to close your eyes." She let out a bitter laugh. "They're always closed." Daniel paused, realizing, then chuckled softly. "Fair point, just focus, feel it. Tell me what you notice." Lyra held the scanner carefully. Her fingertips brushed over its edges. She tilted her head, listening, sniffing, feeling. "It's weak," she whispered, "like it's asleep, but inside there's still a pulse, faint but alive. Like a heart." Daniel's eyes widened. She had described perfectly what his instruments had once shown. The battery was nearly dead, but not gone. She hadn't seen the data, she hadn't known, and yet she felt it. "You're incredible," he said softly. She blinked, confused. "Why?" "I only described it. Because you know things without needing to see," Daniel explained. "You don't just find treasures. You can sense them. That's why you've survived. That's why you're special." Her lips trembled. "Special," she repeated quietly, tasting the word like it was something foreign. For so long she'd been called useless, cursed, worthless. Now this human was saying the opposite. Daniel leaned back, his eyes never leaving her. Lyra, you're not blind. You see differently, and what you see is what others can't. That's your strength. Her fingers tightened around the broken scanner. Her chest rose and fell with a shaky breath. If that's true, then maybe I can be more than just someone who digs through trash. Daniel smiled. You already are, but if you want to prove it to them, to all the people who laughed, you'll need to learn more. I can teach you. Her pale eyes turned toward him again. Teach me? What can a blind girl learn? Plenty, he said firmly. How to listen better, how to trust your instincts, how to negotiate, how to use your gift instead of hiding it. You won't just survive, Lyra. You'll stand tall. She sat in silence, the weight of his words pressing on her. Her whole life had been about finding scraps to stay alive. Now, for the first time, she thought about something bigger, something beyond hunger. And you'll stay? She whispered, the question trembling with fear of rejection. Daniel looked at her steadily. Yes, I'll stay. I'm not going anywhere. A tear slipped down her pale cheek. She quickly wiped it away, embarrassed. I don't want to be alone anymore, she admitted, her voice breaking. Daniel placed a strong hand on her shoulder. You're not alone, not anymore. The fire between them crackled. The silence that followed was not empty. It was filled with trust slowly forming into something stronger. For the next days, Daniel trained her. He would place objects before her and ask her to describe what she felt. He tested her senses, amazed at how precise she was. She could tell the difference between metals by their temperature. She could hear the faint buzz of energy in objects. She could even smell chemical traces no one else noticed. You're sharper than any scanner, he said once. Shaking his head in disbelief, Lyra smiled faintly, pride glowing where shame once lived. Maybe being blind isn't a curse after all. It never was, Daniel said. It was their blindness, not yours. They worked together as a team. Daniel teaching her how to speak with strength in the market, how to keep her back straight even when people mocked. Lyra, in turn, guided him with her uncanny senses, warning him of threats before they happened together. They were becoming more than survivor and protector. They were becoming partners. One evening, as the twin suns sank low, painting the sky in strange colors she could never see, Lyra turned her face toward the warmth and whispered, I wonder, what do colors look like? Everyone talks about them like they're magic. Daniel was quiet for a moment, then answered, they are magic, but you, Lyra, you feel them in ways we don't. Maybe you can't see the sky, but you hear its silence, you feel its air, and maybe that's even more real than sight. Her heart swelled at his words. She reached out and touched his hand. Not by accident this time, but with purpose. Thank you, Daniel, she whispered, for showing me, for the first time in her life. She didn't feel cursed, she didn't feel worthless. She felt like she belonged, but outside, in the deep alleys of the settlement, danger still whispered. The merchants who failed to steal from her had not forgotten. Their greed had not died, it had grown, and soon, Lyra and Daniel would face their greatest trial yet. The settlement was never silent, but that night a strange calm fell over its streets, as if the city itself was waiting for something. Lyra and Daniel walked side by side toward the heart of the market, the glowing box resting in her arms. Her pale eyes stared forward, but her steps were steady. She no longer shuffled like the frightened trash girl. She walked with quiet strength. Daniel glanced at her, proud of the change he had seen in only a few days. She was still thin, still fragile in body, but her spirit burned bright. Remember what I told you, he said softly. Don't let them see fear. Stand tall, speak as if you already know the truth. Lyra nodded. I will, she whispered, her heart beat fast. But this time it was not from shame or hunger. It was from anticipation when they entered the market. All eyes turned. Whispers spread instantly. It's her, the blind rat again. No, look, she's carrying it. The glowing one. Greed flashed in the eyes of merchants and criminals alike. Some scowled. Others licked their lips as if they could already taste the profit. But Lyra did not flinch. She held the box firmly and lifted her chin. Her cloudy eyes fixed straight ahead. Daniel cleared his throat and spoke loudly so the crowd could hear. This girl you mocked, this girl you threw stones at. She holds what you could not see. While you laughed, she found treasure, the crowd murmured. Some sneered, others frowned. But Daniel stepped aside and let Lyra speak. Her voice trembled at first, but she steadied it. All my life you called me trash girl. You laughed when I searched the piles you threw away, but now you see what I carried. She touched the box and the glowing patterns pulsed brighter, casting light across the market. Gasps echoed through the crowd. You thought blindness made me weak, she continued, her voice rising. But it gave me something you never had. I can feel what you ignore, I can hear what you cannot. I can sense life in what you call dead. That is why I found treasures hidden in your trash. Her words struck the crowd like thunder. Some looked ashamed, others furious, but no one laughed. Not this time. The wealthy dealer from before stepped forward, trying to regain control. We don't care for speeches, girl. Name your price. Lyra clutched the box tighter, then shook her head. No, this is not for sale. The crowd erupted in shouts. Anger mixing with disbelief, not for sale. She mocks us. She doesn't even know what it's worth. Daniel raised his hand, silencing them with his glare. But it was Lyra's voice that cut through the noise. Steady and clear. I know what it's worth, more than credits. More than food, it's worth respect, and that you cannot buy. The silence that followed was heavy, powerful. For the first time in her life, the market was quiet because of her. But greed dies hard. A sudden shout broke the silence. Then we'll take it. A group of rough men surged forward, weapons drawn. Daniel moved instantly, stepping in front of Lyra. But before he could strike, something unexpected happened. The box in Lyra's arms flared with brilliant light. The hum grew louder, filling the air with a deep vibration. Everyone froze, shielding their eyes. Lyra gasped, her fingers tightening. Her pale eyes widened as if something unseen had opened inside her mind. For the first time she felt the entire market, the heartbeat of every merchant, the shuffle of every foot, the heat of every greedy gaze. She saw not with eyes but with senses beyond them. She whispered, almost in awe, I can see. The attackers stumbled back in fear, the light pushing them away as if the box itself was defending her. Daniel turned to her in shock. Lyra, what's happening? Her lips trembled. It's showing me everything, not with sight but with truth. It's alive. And it's speaking to me. The crowd fell to their knees, fear and awe mixing in their voices. It's ancient tech, someone muttered. A living core, another whispered. It chose her. The scarred dealer, who had tried to steal from her days ago, snarled, No, she's just a rat. She doesn't deserve it! He lunged forward, but Lyra lifted her hand instinctively, and the box pulsed. A wave of energy knocked him back. Sending him crashing to the ground, he lay groaning, unable to rise. The market gasped. Silence followed, then slowly, one by one, heads bowed. Not from greed this time, but from respect and fear. Daniel placed a steady hand on her shoulder, whispering, It chose you, Lyra, not me, not them, you. The one they called worthless. Her cloudy eyes filled with tears, but her voice was strong. Then I am not trash girl. I am not cursed, I am Lyra, the one who finds treasures others throw away. The crowd echoed her name softly, as if testing it. Lyra. No one laughed. No one mocked. Daniel smiled, pride burning in his chest. You see now, don't you? The treasure was never just the box, it was always you. Her heart swelled. Her weakness had become her strength. Her blindness had become her gift. The settlement that had spat on her now looked at her with awe. For the first time she did not feel small. She did not feel unwanted. She stood tall in the market, holding the glowing box, and whispered, I was blind, but I was never in darkness, and the market believed her.